65 or over and need nursing home level care, but want to keep living where you are, check out Providence Elder Place PACE. This program offers healthcare, housing, transportation, and recreational activities. There are no co-pays or deductibles, and it's covered through Medicare and Medicaid. Providence Elder Place PACE works to keep you healthy and in your home. Call 206-320-5325 or visit providence.org Elder Place. Providence.org Elder Place.
Women are not an homogenous group.
We face discrimination differently depending on factors such as ethnicity, age, socioeconomic status, and more.
Rainier Avenue Radio is proud to amplify women's voices.
They are the experts of their own lives, initiating conversations within their community about challenges they face, the solutions they're working on, and the opportunities they see.
Please join us this Sunday from 2 to 5 for Women's Voices on Air. We know our challenges. We are the experts of our lives.
We are master multitaskers, prioritizing our family, friends, and our faith above our own needs.
Our needs and voices are too often overlooked.
Please join us this Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. for Women's Voices on Air.
We tell our stories in our own way.
Welcome to the coronavirus pandemic. I'll take coronavirus for 100. Fever, chills, shortness of breath, loss of taste or smell. What is staying home and isolate? Correct. Coronavirus for 200. Inability to stay awake, persistent pain or pressure in chest, trouble breathing. Seek immediate help. Correct.
Coronavirus for 500.
And potentially dead infectious disease eliminated in the United States with vaccination.
I'll take coronavirus for 700.
The Daily Double! Should I take the coronavirus vaccine? Wait. Hold up. This is not a game. It's time for serious discussions. We have coronavirus vaccines, but not everyone is comfortable taking them. Here's the facts. Based on what has been proven about vaccines for other diseases, COVID-19 vaccine may help keep you from getting seriously ill, even if you do get the virus. Getting vaccinated also may protect people around, particularly those at greater risk for severe illness from COVID-19. We don't yet have all of the answers. Get informed, talk to your healthcare physician, and make the right decision for you. This is a message supported by the Washington State Department of Health.
You're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio App. Check us out on social media. Facebook and Instagram, Rainier Avenue Radio.world, and on Twitter at Rainier Ave Radio.
Welcome to Real Estate Momentum, a half-hour program on Rainier Avenue Radio.world, designed to help you whether you're a buyer, seller, investor, or renter in real estate. Your hosts are two local professionals who will escort you on your journey. Violeta Strash, who has years of media advertising and marketing experience and brings this extensive knowledge to John L. Scott Real Estate and all our clients. And Tina Lombard, who is a mortgage loan originator with Cardinal Financial with over 28 years of experience. And now here's Violeta and Tina.
Well, hello, everyone.
Hey. Look at my solar panels on my house. No,
Beautiful.
It's not my house.
Very beautiful. Well,
I want to see yours.
Yes, I know. I should have went outside and took a picture of mine. I should have. But, I'm not as fast as you are. Okay. But everybody, thank you so much for joining the show today. This is the 62nd episode of Real Estate and Money. And today we're going to be talking about harnessing the sun. And before we get started, we want to make sure that you invite your friends and family to join along on this streamline. And V always starts our show off with current updates in the market. So V, take it away.
Okay, here we go. Last week, King County, we had 649 homes up for sale. 708 were sold with an average price of $189,000. Last year, $962,000 was the average price, so that's a 13% increase. In Pierce County, active listings 302, sold 262. That doesn't leave a lot, right, folks? Average price $751,000 last year. For the years numbers to 657,000, and that's a 14% increase year to year. Snohomish County. Oh, I'm sorry, everyone. That was Snohomish County. I'm sorry. Pierce County is 311 active listings, 342 homes sold at an average of 576,000, with 510 year to year. That's a 13% increase. There you have it.
Wow.
Okay.
So that has been the constant theme on this channel ever since we've started. The price of the housing have just been going up and going up and going up. So still, you can jump on that bandwagon. It is not too late. Now, before we go any further, let's talk about harnessing the sun. So V, as you can see behind her, she's got that beautiful picture of solar panels. There she is. Okay, great. Yes, and I actually do have solar panels.
Is that what it looks like?
On your house? No, kind of like, every house, and Jake will explain it, but every house is a little different, depending on what the needs are, how many panels, and so on and so forth. But yes, it is facing the sun, and it is fantastic. So even in Seattle, you may not have as much sun as we do in Colorado or Hawaii or Florida, but you still have sun. That seems to be a constant thing.
And like lately, in the triple digits.
112.
It's been amazingly hot.
Yes.
No air conditioning units, no fans, no water, no Gatorade, no Powerade in the last couple of days.
Yes.
To be had anywhere at any store.
Wow.
I just wanted to bring up, since you're talking about homes in Seattle, we use here in the area 12% of all energy. And passenger cars use up 22% of the energy. And there's got to be something we can do to get a break. Are there tax breaks? And we'll ask Jake about that. And how much do these things cost? I think we should just go to Jake and ask him all these questions.
Okay. Well, let me introduce you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be bringing on Jake Wilson, and he is the president and CEO of Conscious Energy Consultants here in Colorado. Now, Jake is a friend of mine, and he's actually part of the crowd in which I run. And he is a very, very strong advocate of harnessing the sun and solar energy. And every time I see him, he's such a kind person. He's such a strong character. And I said, you need to be on our show and talk to us about solar energy. And he's an authority on it in the area. So anyways, without any further ado, we'd like to introduce you to Mr. Jake Wilson. Jake, thank you for joining us.
Hi, Jake.
Great.
I get to see you in person, sort of.
Yes. So Jake, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into solar energy. Oh, can we hear you? Oh, you're on mute, Jake.
Now I'm unmuted.
Okay.
There you go.
So tell us.
I've been studying solar about 20 years. So my degree's in architecture from Boulder. And that was obviously back when solar was more of a novelty. Nobody really knew what it was capable of. So I've always kind of kept my eye on it for a bit. And I've had other businesses and worked for an energy efficient window company, and had somebody who wanted me to build a sales team for them for their solar company. And as I did that, I looked at how they structured it, and I had purchased solar in a house previously. And as I looked at it, I just realized there was a big gap. There was a big missing in the industry and how the product was sold, what was charged to customers, how it was conveyed. And realized that, nope, there's a better way to do this. And I'm going to build a company to completely evolve and change the solar industry. And I think it's kind of on its way for that. And so I started my company a little over 2.5 years ago, and I've been building it since, and kind of created some different varieties and different ways that, to my knowledge, there's nobody else in the country really doing what we're doing. And now we're able to expand some of our offerings nationally as well for people.
That's great. So tell us, what are the biggest myths about solar energy, and what are the biggest things you have to overcome into convincing people it's a real good idea?
But the problem with the biggest myth is that there's just so many misconceptions from what solar was to where it is. And unfortunately, when somebody stole something from one solar company, it's not necessarily the truth. Oh, God, the biggest myth I would say is that it's extremely expensive. There's no return, and it's ugly, all these things. And the biggest thing, it changes. It really depends. I mean, the biggest thing that has shifted in the industry in the last 5 years is people have gone away from solar leases. So solar leases are where companies would put the solar panels on somebody's roof, and they would just charge them a little bit less than than what they would have paid. But the homeowner gets no return on investment. They don't get any equity. They don't get the tax credit because they don't own it. So the simple things about it. Homeowners became a lot more aware recently, and so the price of solar also dropped. And now homeowners are now purchasing a lot more. So from a real estate perspective, there's a lot of misconceptions that solar is always going to make it harder to sell. There's more steps. In a lot of ways, if it's done right, it will add value, but it has to be conveyed properly. And unfortunately, a lot of appraisers aren't aware of that. And so the first thing is a lot of appraisers aren't aware of that. And the second thing is, can I change my microphone? So the appraisers will have that issue. The realtors themselves are not able to communicate and show the value that it has to the customers when they're either buying or selling that property.
Okay, so tell us really quick, who is once we get the myths out of the way, because I know there's a lot of benefits for solar energy, and I've experienced a lot of those. What are like the top 5 benefits of having solar panels?
Number one benefit is that, well, you're going to be paying an electric bill one way or the other. The big difference is that when you own solar, or if you're purchasing it, even if you're doing a loan, then you own it and you're getting the value, getting the equity, and we have ever increasing electricity costs. So in 2020, and I can speak to Denver most easily, the price of solar went up 6.5%.
Wow.
And this year, we're in about a month, sometime in July, they've announced they're going to be moving to time of use. Which means you're going to be charged more during specific times of day because they're going to keep wanting to do it, which is going even more than the price of inflation.
Okay. So
that would be the number one benefit. Number two, depending on the way that you do it and the speed of what you do it, is you also get a massive, you get an increase in equity. Again, it's the only home improvement project that, if done right, will immediately and continually pay back, because every single month, if it's done right, and making sure you're charged with a company that's not overcharging you for it, that it will pay back. Because when you just take across the inflation or just the increase in price of electricity, it will eventually balance out. So really the question is always, what's your ROI and when will that become positive for you? Is that going to be right away, or is that going to be in 7 years or 10 years? And each case is a little bit different.
Okay, great. So so basically it's cost effective. You're not depending on the electrical company. Is that what you're saying? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Now, how fast can somebody put solar panels on? Is it a great big lengthy thing, or is it something that,
That's a great question. Every single county is different because, the actual install of solar usually only takes about a day or so. But the biggest thing that takes most of the time is the permitting.
Okay.
Some counties have one person in the entire office to deal with everything that comes through, and that can sometimes take a little bit. Average times usually sometime between 2 to 4 months is a safe bet, but some counties in some states are easier and some are harder, so there really is no exact answer. Because then once it's done, then the utility company has to come back out at their leisure to top off the old meter and put a new one on.
Right.
So there's a certain part of it where you're at the utility companies and the county's inspectors, but in terms of the solar itself, that's the easy part. And it's just a lot of paperwork to get the system installed.
Right. Well, you know what? Actually, somebody quoted me when I got my hot tub, it was going to take 5 or 6 months to get a hot tub. So putting solar panels on my roof just to wait a couple months is well worth it. And I know for me, I think they took like a day. They basically took a day at the most to put it on. And my savings has been tremendous.
Awesome.
One of my fears was that they're going to have to cut a hole in the roof, and it's going to permanently damage my roof, and it's going to affect my insurance. So what do you have to say to people who think it's going to damage their roof or it's going to make their insurance go up?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's where you always want to look at the warranty that the company offers. Are they offering a warranty to cover any penetrations, any workmanship that happens? In most cases, it should not ever be an issue. You are going into the roof, but it shouldn't ever be an issue because there's a lot of ways in which it's done where there's never any problems, and a quality company will back up that work. With regards to insurance, unless you have a very basic coverage that's barely covering what your home is valued, which if that's the case, you have it anyways, you should get a new insurance policy regardless. I have not on any of the homes I've had it increase their deductible increase their payment at all. because it usually should just cover in it. So if there's ever a hail claim in or a hailstorm in the future, it's considered part of the roof. So, and quality panels, like tier 1 panels, are tested up to about 70 miles an hour with billiard size hail. So if something's damaging the panels, you're going to have a lot of damage all over the house, and it would be included just like you're replacing your roof. It's just another component that's covered by your insurance if there's ever an issue with it.
Okay, great. I
have a question. If someone were to move into the house and they go, I don't want these solar panels, but is it going to be a hassle to remove them? Is it going to have, like, we were talking about holes in the roof, and is that an expensive thing to do?
I can't imagine any reason why somebody would want to.
Yeah.
Just to be very straight, it'll only cost them. It's not hurting them. It's not benefiting them. Like, oh, I just don't like the way they look.
Right.
Okay, just keep paying a lot of money extra. Obviously, money's not an issue for them. They don't care. So you can pay somebody to just remove them and redo your entire roof if that's really what you care about. And you're just gonna keep throwing more money down the drain. And again, the other part is that, you do make a huge difference in terms of your environment. There was a study done that the average home, if it covered 80% of a home's use in the next 25 years, that's over 140 tons of CO2 emissions, which is also the equivalent of 45 tons of waste that's being saved. That's the kind of impact one singular home at 80%. So part of it is we have a choice to make a difference in the environment, choose where we're getting our electric from, how we're consuming it, and get rewarded for doing so. And again, you're going to be paying it one way or the other. It's just a question of whether you're paying yourself or paying the utility company and getting nothing out of it.
Yeah. So before we go into break, we got to take a break really quick, and you're going to hang on with us, Jake. But I had a friend that moved here from Seattle with me, and he bought a house with solar panels on it, which was kind of cool because he didn't have to pay extra, which is on the house. But he called me up the first month screaming. We were used to Seattle paying $280 a month or $300 a month for electricity. His bill was $28.
Well, keep in mind that it also doesn't cover gas. So you're always going to have a little bit of a gas bill, most likely, as well as there's always an interconnection fee. I mean, ours is like $8 here. So you're always going to have that little bit of a fee. But the best part in Colorado, specifically, and each state's a little different, is we have a law called net metering, which means that whatever your system produces, if it's more than you use, it gets stored in a solar bank that the utility company holds for you, and it works like rollover minutes. So when you get a month in the winter where we don't have as much sun, it pulls from that excess that you've had stored, and that's part of what that interconnection fee here covers. But in almost any utility company across the country, you're going to have that fee regardless. It just happens to be a lot more suitable here. And our costs here are not nearly as much as, whether it be Seattle or California or New Jersey. That's where, you're talking 20, 30 cents a kilowatt. That's where you can get a massive benefit by going solar as well, because again, you're going to be using that electricity. There's a question of who you're going to pay for it.
Right. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about financing and the expenses of solar paneling.
Yes.
Tune in to Real Estate and Money every Tuesday afternoon from 2:30 to 3 here on Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Join your hosts Violeta Strash with John L. Scott Kent North and Tina Lombard, who is a mortgage loan originator with Cardinal Financial. They'll help you navigate the waters of our volatile real estate market and offer you some guidance on how to make your hard-earned money work to make your dreams come true. Learn about current trends, get tips on financial matters, and have fun, interactive discussions about your home inside and out. That's Real Estate and Money.
Okay, great. So, there are different various costs with solar paneling, and everybody is different. And so we can't really get into the particular innuendos of each person's house. However, let's talk about the costs. Let's talk about the benefits. And then Jake's going to talk to us about financing, because he actually owns a finance company for solar paneling. Am I right?
Close, as I'm also a mortgage lender. So
there you go. Great. So Jake, tell us about the costs involved. Is it gonna run you a lot of money? Just tell us a little bit about it.
Let's take for an example, a 2,000 square foot home. How much is that going to cost? How many panels? How much?
No idea. I can't tell you. And anybody that does tell you is full of it. Just to be very, very blunt. It depends very much on what city you're in, what type of roof you have, what angle your roof is, which direction your roof faces, how much electricity that 2,000 square foot home uses. Do they have an electric car? Do they have electric heating, gas heating? There's no such thing as a standard quote. Literally, if anybody tells you that, they're just shooting a number from the hip with no idea.
Really?
It depends very much on one home. We could have two homes that are the exact same home, right next to each other, But because one is angled a little differently, they don't have as much sunlight, or they don't have a southern facing roof, now they're an eastern facing roof, then it requires more panels on an eastern facing roof than a southern facing roof because it doesn't get as much sunlight in order to offset the usage. So every single home is going to be different. Then you have to look and see if their electric panel has any room to be able to add it, or if you have to do an upgrade, if there's trees blocking the roof and you don't have as much sun on it. So in terms of the cost, there's no way to do it without getting a proposal, and any company will give a proposal for free. There's never a cost to do it. And until we do that and we know what their usage is and the roof material and the roof slope, there's just no way to even remotely accurately say what the cost would be. And then again, you're also looking at the state. The other side of that is every company is going to charge differently of what they want. I built my company a little differently in terms of how my reps and how we charge, but how it mostly works is there's a red line that companies have to work off of, and the sales reps charge whatever above that they think they can charge to get the project. And sometimes there's adders depending on what somebody needs in their house, or if they're doing something specific, which can add to that cost. So that's why it's just it's impossible just to say what it would cost, because it also depends on where you're at.
So in other words, it's best to go ahead and have somebody to come out and consult with you, and you have to put everything side to side. So when I had my solar panels on, we actually looked at a whole year's worth of my usage and my expense versus how much it will cost if I went solar panel. And for me, it made a lot of sense. But if I was somebody who didn't use a lot of energy, then it would be very vivid that this is not cost effective. But you're saying, Jake, that you need to get a consultant out there, and you really need to compare apples and oranges and then go from there if it's beneficial.
It really depends on what somebody considers a lot of electric use. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's really, it's like, oh, I'm not using a lot, my bill's only $80, but you can still have a massive amount of savings if you go solar. But it depends on a lot of these other factors.
Right.
I mean, they have a really inexpensive $40, $50 electric bill, and they don't have a roof that based a lot of way. It can end up costing more than what they're paying, depending on which way they choose to finance or pay for it, where it may not be beneficial for them. So, like I said, every single case is different. And the reason why we look at the last 12 months is the Public Utility Commission in most places limits what you can build your solar system to be 120% of what your last 12 months usage is. So you don't want to, the idea of solar is you want to offset all of your usage, but sometimes you can't. Sometimes there's either trees or you don't have enough roof space. There's a lot of ways. So you look to see how much can you offset, and you build your whole system. You size the system correlated to what your last year's usage, but then you also have to put, where a lot of companies don't do this, is you also have to calculate the degradation of the system, because systems will degrade over time, and each panel is a bit different. And so you want to make sure you're building a system where you're going to eliminate or at least minimize that degradation, so that in another year, if you're just at 100%, the panel degrade, well, now you just have to cover that bill or whatever your system doesn't include on top of it. So having a properly built inside solar system that's really the crucial factor. And that was what I experienced, is I did not have that on my home, and ended up having my solar bill and electric bill being twice what I was paying prior. And that's where I realized there's something in the industry that needs to change in terms of the education of our homeowners and how homeowners are told and become knowledgeable about what a properly sized solar system is. And that's also why I wrote the only continuing ed course for realtors in the state of Colorado in solar and property, just to help get the education out there more than anything.
Right. So really quick though, let's go into finance. Let's say you decide that yes, I am going to need solar panels, and let's say it costs anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000, just for example. As far as financing, what are the financing alternatives for somebody?
So there's really only a few that you can do. The first is people can just pay straight up cash. Keep in mind that you also get a 26% tax credit currently through this year and next year for the entire solar system, which would include if you do any electrical upgrades or tree trimming or things that are included as part of the project, which if you do your roof at the same time as you go solar, you get at least a partial value of that roof added to the solar project, even if insurance covers it, because it's considered part of the same structure. So anybody that's doing their roof or having their roof redone, it is the only chance, it's their once in a lifetime chance to be able to look at solar and have an additional tax credit added by adding in the value of the roof project.
Wow.
So the first thing is cash. You can just pay cash, you're good, and there's always a cash discount. People can also do HELOCs, but again, you're talking 5 to 10 years. Those are usually a higher interest rate, high payments on that, but it's still available. The most common thing that the industry uses that I saw that I really wanted to impact is most companies will use a thing called just a solar finance. And what those have is they have a dealer fee attached to it, which means that, okay, let's just say a $20,000 project like we talked about. In order to finance with these companies, they'll say a 2.99 20-year loan, which is a pretty common one. It's a nice low interest rate, but it usually has between a 20 to 25% added dealer fee, essentially like a buy down to get to that rate. So not only are they paying the project, they're paying that additional rate to get that. So the same project that costs $20,000 for cash is now going to cost $25,000 or so, give or take, for these solar finance companies. Which again, even then, it can still be a benefit. The catch with all of those companies is you have to take the entire tax credit and apply it to the loan. Otherwise, the payment balloons after 18 months.
Okay.
The thing that I created, to my knowledge, we're the nation's first national solar refi program, is where homeowners can do a cash out refi, use the equity in their home to pay for solar. They're not coming out of pocket for any of it. They can bundle it all into their mortgage. And if you can at least match their rate, and if you can lower their interest rate at all, now you're talking about a massive benefit for them, where on average in about 2 years, you're talking between a $10,000 to $20,000 more in their pocket simply by having a better mortgage and by going solar and eliminating the solar from their just bill and lowering their mortgage payment as well. So that's really the best way. And I mean, it's there. It's always been there. Nobody's ever really taken a run with it. But that was what I started with and have been running with, to have nationally give people access to go solar that otherwise financially they would never have a chance to, and almost always will make the best financial choice if they can do it.
Right. And you can also lease. And really, before we go, Jake, we need to get your information for those people who want to reach out to you. They have more questions. Can you go ahead and give us your phone number or your email? There you go.
So my personal email, they're always welcome to email that, is jakew@consciousec.com. CONSCIOUSEC.com. Website's the same. And phone number is 720-235-8302.
Great. I'm just writing this down too. So anyways, thank you so much for joining us. So, if you have any questions out there, before we have to go, please reach out to Jake. He can give you some great advice. He'd love to give you some advice and give you some pointers. Don't just call somebody up and just, start asking a lot of questions. If you've got Jake as a connection, you need to call him first.
Always available.
So
perfect. Well, thank you, Jake. Appreciate your time today. Yeah, and it's a lot of great information. And I know you said you're a wealth of content. You can talk for hours on this, right?
Yeah, we just scratched the surface.
Yeah.
We'll have to have you back.
Yes.
I would love to.
All right.
Let me know when.
Okay. Well, thank you very much again. And Tina, you want to close?
Okay, yeah. So everybody next week, same place, same time, 2:30 here in Seattle and 3:30 in Colorado. And that is, you can call us at 206-717-4490 outside the show. Again, 206-717-4490. And V, do you have any announcements before we go?
I just have, right after our show, R&R Live Jam Session continues to their encore presentation of one of their sessions. And I wanted to let you know that next week we have our home designer extraordinaire, Joey J. God, joining us. And we're going to talk about family rooms and what's the trend in family rooms this season. All right. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Jake. Thank you, V.
Thank you, Jake. See you later. Bye, everyone. See you next week.
You've been listening to Real Estate and Money with your hosts, Violeta, Strash, and Tina Lombard. For more information, call 206-717-4490. That's 206-717-4490. Go to the Rainier Avenue Radio.world website to find the Real Estate and Money schedule, or tune in to our live show every Tuesday afternoon from 2:30 to 3. We will help you find your dream home.